Hi everyone, my name is Khanh. I'm the co-founder of Inspius. At Inspius, we help Singapore and US companies to hire and manage top software engineers in Vietnam. Recently, we just launched Hacked.ht. Hacked is a technical assessment platform that applies AI to help companies to screen their software engineer candidates faster, more accurate, and more cost-effective. And right now, Hacked is available for free beta sign-up. So please give it a try, and we're happy to receive any feedback from you. I will leave the link to Hacked and Inspius in the description down below. Hi everyone, my name is Khanh. I'm the co-founder of Inspius, and today we have John. John is the CEO and founder of Brandrev.ai. He is one of the top LinkedIn AI voice. In the past 12 months alone, John has helped more than 30 Singapore SME to apply AI in their business, ranging from driving revenue to controlling cost. So I'm very happy to have you here, John, and we look forward to the very specific and hands-on from a veteran AI practitioner in Singapore.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot to
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe just start with some warm up. Maybe you can tell a little bit about your journey, as in how you come about being a practitioner in AI.
Right. Okay. So I've personally been in the space of technology for north of 20 years. I've built. I was there when the mobile revolution kicked off. And
iOS and Android.
Yes, iOS and Android, and it was an interesting time for sure to be alive. And while it was that time was a very transformative time in the world, right? People were starting to adopt mobile technologies, build mobile apps, and so on and so forth. I think AI is going to be actually significantly bigger because the benefit is truly something you can feel, something you can touch and you apply right away. So like all of us, right, we had this Gen AI aha moment, right? Like when we experienced ChatGPT for the first time, us in technology, we probably have jumped in way in the beginning when the beta was open in November 22, right? November 22. Most of us, when we touched it, it was like, hey, this is something that's going to change the world. We knew right away ahead of everyone else. I think at this point in the bell curve, we're probably
early adopter.
I think we're early adopter, yes, but we were like the pre-early adopter. Pioneers, right? Before anyone could really see the value, they were like, oh, it's going to take my jobs, it's going to conquer the world or destroy the world, like the Terminator kind of thing, right? Us in technology, I think we saw it right away, especially us practitioners who are focused on driving business outcome, creating business value. It was phenomenal. I think we saw so many possibilities right away, especially for me as a lifetime entrepreneur. I've never actually had a full-time job.
Nice.
So, well, the pros and cons, right? As you know, working for someone, you have certain boundaries and certain
safety net.
Yes. But as an entrepreneur, you have unlimited upside and unlimited downside. Right?
I feel like the downside is capped. We broke. Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could be under broke, right?
hit bottom.
You could go negative too, right? So that's not a good place to be.
Okay.
But I think particularly for SMEs and I'm an SME myself, right? And a boutique technology enabler. I think Gen AI immediately opens up so many doors. And I'll be talking about some use cases in some of the companies that I've helped and how I've actually helped apply Gen AI, right? But if we think about our key problems as entrepreneurs, it's really getting good people, training these good people, and because we have limited resources to hire, right? We're not like a large MNC,
we
multinational.
don't have a lot of money to spend and burn.
That's true. And also that means that we can't have specific people for specific roles all the time. Of course, it's better to have A, there's very narrow scope. The narrower the better,
Okay.
and then the output will be better, right? But you can't afford to hire 1,000 people, or sometimes you can't even afford to hire 50 people.
Yes.
So how do you play the game, right?
Yes.
If you are a small startup and you can only hire 5 people, right? How do you maximize these 5 people? A lot of the times, these 5-10 people don't have a wide enough skill set. They may be wide, but they're only deep in 1 or 2 areas. So that's a problem, because as a founder, you might be resourceful, but you yourself shouldn't be better than your team members. If you are, you're hiring better in all, you're hiring wrongly, right? Because if you're a better coder than your developers and you can do all the work, something is wrong. Maybe you need additional headcount, but still, that's not the point of being a founder or being a manager. You're meant to scale yourself. So I think that's a key problem. Skill gaps are a key problem. Your employees don't have the ability to scale, and even after you build those processes, which are very, very painful for founders to build, right? Even after you build those processes, are they then maintained through the hires? Because people come, people go, life happens. How do you maintain that process? One great application of generative AI is knowledge transfer.
Really?
Retention is one thing, because people are happier because their job is less mundane. Less mundane meaning, even as a coder, you're a coder yourself. You run a team of coders, and you hire coders for other people, right? Coding is mundane. Certain parts of coding are mundane, like the actual coding of the functions, whatever language you use. It's like that, right? There's a certain structure. That is something like tools like Code Assist can help with a lot, which is why when we had our initial conversation,
we were talking about that.
We were talking about that because I would be very concerned if we hired a developer who was just pure technical, able to code, but doesn't understand the big picture, right? Doesn't understand strategic thinking, because really when it comes to coding, maybe only 20% of your time, 30% maybe, is actually coding. The rest is stakeholder management, the rest is product, communication, and so on and so forth. So those are really the skills of the future that moving forward. And also skills that startup founders and their team members, by connection to them, right, tend to already have, because you are multitaskers. You are broad, and therefore you tend to already have those skills. In many ways, tools like ChatGPT, Stable Diffusion, these are godsend to SMEs, because these are your ultimate employees, your ultimate executors. And I could talk about a little bit more about how we've done it with different types of clients.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that John has given a very good background context to our conversation. So I think like one of the biggest reasons that we want to have you here, because just recently in our Singapore 2024 national budget, the government, the Deputy Prime Minister and also Finance Minister, Lawrence Wong, said that in the next 5 years, Singapore will invest $1 billion into the development of AI, talent, and industry development in general, right? And also, like, according to a report done by FIS Global Innovation, so Singapore is like the country with the highest adoption of AI. More than 50% of the companies here apply AI in one way or another. So this is a feat that is beyond or ahead of the other markets such as US, UK, Australia, and Hong Kong. Yep. So I think the point here is that we want to go beyond the theories, the buzzword in the news and the press, to see actually how Singapore SMEs, right, are actually using AI. And we always want to learn from someone who is expert in the field, right? So maybe after today, a lot of our audience, maybe even myself, we will try to apply some of the lessons that you have collected over the years in our business tomorrow, right? So maybe let's start with the first question, and I'm being asked very often, almost all the time. So for SME, typically they are very limited by their resource, both in terms of capital and time, right? And also maybe limited knowledge as well, right? So where are some of the simple and straightforward area in which you think Singapore SME can apply AI and they can like have some quick and immediate ROI.
Right. I think when it comes to application of generative AI in business, there are a few things they'd want to consider. Typically, creating efficiency, so reducing your costs. That's one. Number two, generating revenue, and you can split generating revenue really into two segments, right? So number one would be your outbound, creating sales, going out there and more efficiently selling. Number two, we are talking about inbound, right? How do you market yourself better? How do you brand yourself better? How do you scale your limited marketing team, if you even have a marketing team, to create a good outward-facing brand or thought leadership? Because people really do business with people they trust. And if, say, for example, your ride-sharing partner, which I noticed downstairs, right? Founder, you need to be seen like you know your stuff. And if you're a business consultant, you're a sales consultant, you're an educator, you need to be seen as a thought leader in that space. So really it's split into the two broad segments: saving money, becoming more efficient, therefore being able to scale up your deliverables, therefore scaling your revenue, okay, and then reducing your cost as well. The second, of course, would be generating revenue, generating sales, right? So consistent marketing, how do you make your marketing better? Then if you split that further, how do you sell better? So that in general are the main things that you're looking at, because all of the other aspects are, they're smaller compared to for SMEs.
Yes.
Really cut costs, increase revenue. That's it.
Nice. According to Singapore Business Federation, SBF, right, in our latest business report for 2023 and 2024,
Yes.
the number one concern for Singapore SME right now is growing manpower cost.
Yes.
So maybe our audience want to know how actually you have helped your clients to control like this increase in manpower cost.
Okay, so I would say one of the early adopters to generative AI are largely the marketing firms, because they like us see, like technologists, right?
Sure.
Marketing and technologists, they see the value pretty much right away because it's very visual. So if you talk about marketing, there are so many ways that they can become more efficient and create more billable hours. Okay, as a marketing agency, you would charge for a service, for example, media buys, right? And then you're expected to produce a certain output. Media buys meaning Facebook buys, Google buys, and so on and so forth. In the past, it might say take maybe one man day to come up with a campaign, okay, which would cost salary divided by 22 days, for example, right? Okay. Right now, it could be double the output, triple the output,
in the same day?
With the same day, or you could increase the amount of A/B tests that you produce, because if you're talking about media buys, you need to A/B test it, right? So you have to create a copy, you have to create the assets, and copy first. We'll talk about copy first because everyone understands LLMs and ChatGPT. If you use generative AI well and you tuned it to the specific brand voice, it's actually something that even an intern can run.
So to generate content.
Yes. Before in pre-22, right? You would have your creative director train the creative the execution team, right? Okay, so someone of decent experience already more expensive to execute, and then it's not always good enough, and then it bounces back, and there are multiple iterations between the director level and the executive level. With ChatGPT, it's kind of like your in-house expert. If it is tuned properly and if it is trained properly, this then becomes a tool that your junior staff actually has a large input that is already trained on the creative strategist, the director. So the output will already be higher, therefore cutting your production time. Gen AI, the LLM itself has a large knowledge base, but the key problem with generative AI is being specific. So the tuning, right? Your inputs are extremely important. Meaning, if you ask Gen AI a simple question, your input is a one line, like, "Hey Google, what's up, right? Okay, your input's going to be really terrible. So good prompt engineers, that word's a bit overused because for a while they were saying prompt engineers could earn hundreds of thousands of dollars, but really I think prompt engineering is an essential skill for anyone. And we do a lot of that kind of capability building in companies because a lot of people don't know how to use AI properly, even the basics and the fundamentals, how to prompt properly, how to adjust it to your specific business and your specific workflow. I think what we were talking about is for marketing agencies earlier, right? How Gen AI could help marketing agencies. From a copy standpoint, you could create a lot more marketing copy. So this could be for media buys, it could be for content copy, and so on and so forth.
Nice.
Basically, what you could do is tune your AI such that the inputs are pre-trained with an agent or with a prompt, right? Okay, and we actually have sandboxes that we've built on top of a ChatGPT layer. So therefore, very easy for us to implement company-based execution. So you have a specific use case. For example, you have a marketing client for agencies, right? I work a lot with agencies to help them upskill because not a lot of agencies, they want to get into it, but they don't really, they could be better. Let's put it that way. They kind of know it, but they could be better, right?
Yes.
So we equip their teams as to how to use Gen AI to maximum effect. Because really, I'm in my position, it's really about sharing and growing this capability. AI is what we call a GPT, and I don't mean generative pre-trained transformer. I mean general purpose technology. So it's a technology that could be applied to multiple different industries. That was the right word. Industries, right? So if you're in engineering, you could use generative AI. If you're in marketing, you could use generative AI. If you're a developer, you can use generative AI. It's something that's going to change the world. Is changing the world, right? Already changed the world. And if you don't embrace it, there is a saying that AI is going to take your job, and that's really completely false. AI is not going to take your job. It's the people who use Gen AI that are going to take your job if you don't level up with them. So really here at Brandrev, what we aim to do is really help businesses level up.
So I think like just now you talk about how the agencies, the marketing agency can apply Gen AI. How about another industry?
Oh, okay. So let's talk about professional services. For example, in a case where you're an educator, this example will kind of apply to any service with billable hours, right? And it's largely reliant on expert knowledge. If you think of a situation where educator, right, or capability development, that kind of space, or even lawyers, okay, you have a specific framework or a set of inputs or a way that you do things. Now, typically when your clients need to get an output, right, a deliverable from you, like for example, I need you to upskill my sales team, okay, they would have to bring you in. They would pay you, of course, for your billable hours, okay? You would charge them a one-time fee, but because it's substantial, it's your time, right? Your team's time, right? You would only have so many of these jobs every year, right? And additionally, the limitation is what happens with the knowledge loss. So as an educator, I train this team. Can they take that away now? And what's the retention? So in education, it's going to change education in a huge way. Because if you imagine a version of you, right, where AI is tuned to be able to replicate your voice. When I say your brand voice, right, and the way of thinking, right, to say about 70%. This means from an educator standpoint, you are now able to sell a service and add on access to your clients, right? That's beneficial for you as a startup founder or as an educator, but also beneficial for your customers in terms of customer value, because they could essentially now have a tutor, right? A version of you on demand, right? And this can be applied in many ways, right? This can be something really simple. GPT overlay. For example, you think ChatGPT, but tuned to this educator's voice,
Knowledge.
right? Knowledge. It could also be things like a smart form, okay, like a certain framework that you have, where there is a ChatGPT underlayer, but based on the inputs, it produces recommendations that are relevant to you. So this is something we do a lot because it's of value to the end user, the customers, and of value to the startup founders or the management, right? Because it creates a new line that creates multiple things. First, you have a new service that you can charge recurring. Second of all, it's a constant touch point with your customers. And that creates potential future large billables where you come in and you train. Now, we spoke slightly earlier about why AI is not going to replace you. Human-centered AI is very, very important. The human can't be replaced fully, at least at this stage.
Okay.
At least at this stage, right? Because your own perspective, your own knowledge, that brings dimension that's unique to you. Now, what AI does, it allows you to scale yourself. Those are two examples of using AI, right, to drive revenue. Or we were talking productivity.
Yes.
Okay, we're talking productivity. Okay, you and I both know small teams, right? Sometimes our employees don't fully get it. When I say get it, they don't really follow what we feel should be the right way to do things. Internal GPT, company-based GPT, again, something we do a lot. Okay, so if you think about the good old days, you would create process documents. You would create knowledge hubs, intranet and all that kind of stuff. Okay, SMEs, less intranet because we don't have that, right? So we put it on Google Drive or something. The issue with that is that can be interpreted differently. It's just like Google versus GPT. Why was GPT so powerful? Because you could ask a question and it spits out an answer. The problem is that answer is not always factually good. That was the problem with GPT because especially in the early days or in 3.5.
Hallucination.
Yes.
Okay.
It spits out bad information, right? So training it based on your documents. If you already have those documents, great. You take it, you tune it to your GPT, use things like RAG to pull in that data, and then you tune it further to create accurate outputs. Like simple things like how many, what's my benefits, right? Or what's this process for dealing with marketing, or what's this process for dealing with this type of customer base. If you have a good internal system, knowledge base, they could just ask, what should I do in this situation? Or you could have a pre-prompt that is already trained, tuned to gather the information that they specifically need. So there is so many use cases from internal efficiency.
Okay. Great. So I thought just now we explore quite a number of areas in which ChatGPT in specific, but Gen AI in general can be applied in the business context to help to control the cost. And I thought in the early introduction, we also mentioned two main concerns for business would be like to control the cost, reduce cost, and also to increase revenue. So let's talk about the second part of the equation.
Right.
So how can business owner, especially for SME, can apply Gen AI to drive revenue? Okay.
With revenue generation, I think there are a few aspects to consider. What is your product? What are you trying to push out? Okay. For example, a B2B versus a B2C, the right tool for the right time. Okay. In all businesses, whether B2B or B2C, I think something is universal, and that is creating value for your customers, So if you, for example, you have a landing page marketing, right? Inbound. Okay. You have a landing page and you try to close the customer on the first interaction. Before creating any value, that is, the chances of selling still there. I mean, depends. But if you're able to create value, depending on the marketing campaign, right, could go up by 20 to 60%. It depends. Okay, so if you think of it this way, a simple landing page, this is what we do. Give us your details, sign up with us. Okay, versus, for example, an example of an interior design firm that we helped out. Come to the landing page, fill in your details, choose a relevant design that's right for you. Okay, you fill up a smart form, right? We call this smart forms, AI forms, right? So you fill that up, and after you fill that up, boom, you're generated some designs based on your inputs. Like that is immediately creating value, and now then asking them to, you already have that data depending on how you structure the form, right? You may already have that data from the form ahead, and from there you've already created a positive impression, and then you can continue with escalation of the sale and reaching and having your sales reps escalate that, and of course you can have multiple different layers to further qualify them.
So I feel like right now we can, one of the use cases that we can use AI to add more value to our prospects. So if we benchmark ourselves against our competitor, so we already have like the advantage of additional value to our customer even before the sales. So that is where we are coming to increase the likelihood that we're going to eventually close the project.
Yes,
That's where you come from.
It's what we call in sales, we call it lead nurturing, right? So you nurture the lead by providing value first. I mean, lead nurturing is not a new concept. People have done lead nurturing before Gen AI, but typically what would happen is you fill in a form, you get a report or something of value to you, right? Like the state of, in your business, it would be the state of the business or hiring. What should you be looking for? Skills of the future, that kind of stuff. But Gen AI provides you with this opportunity to create something personal based on their inputs. Now the danger is that it goes way off tangent. So that's where the tuning happens to narrow down the output so that it's in line with your brand tone, your brand voice, the deliverable that you want them to get, right? And that's a fair bit of tuning. So that's actually the bulk of what we do at Brandrev.
Yes, so I thought a lot of business, if they are not very familiar with like Gen AI and how to use them like properly, that's not one of the risks. Is really, the AI can go haywire. They produce like something that doesn't really like gel well with the brand, and it might backfire. So I thought like for Gen AI, we need to do some sandbox to experiment it before we roll it out.
Super familiar with this.
Just now you want to talk more about B2B.
Yeah, so I think for B2B, it's a little bit more nuanced because it's very leadership driven. So if you talk about a small practice, you tend to have the founders, maybe a head of sales or head of solutions, who are the key revenue generators. A lot of your leads would actually come through inbound because of your expertise and your perception, referrals, right? So thought leadership is really something that is extremely, extremely important and something that Gen AI can help with a lot. In fact, we helped so many companies with this that we basically turned it into a service because we can also train the leaders to become thought leaders, right? Equip them with the tools and so on. But they have another problem. Even Gen AI takes time, less time, but it takes time to execute, right? So if you imagine trying to become a top voice in LinkedIn, writing consistent amount of content, making sure your sales teams are using the correct voice, right? Or you going out there and using the correct voice. You have to think of every message before you send it. You can only do so much. But if you had either your marketing team, where we come in, we train the marketing team, that's it, right? We train the marketing team to scale the founder or scale the commercialization teams, commercialization leads rather specifically, to replicate their brand voice to create that content, right? And the sales teams to be able to run outbound in the correct way that it's personalized to each lead. For example, I'm a sales capability development firm. If I reach out to my ICP or my ideal customer profile, if I did it myself, I would have to spend a lot of time to think about it, right? So the power of Gen AI is it takes the power of you, a senior person, and you can get a junior person to execute, or even better, you can get an agent to do it for you, an AI agent, right? But that tends to be next level stuff.
So that you pair a human with an AI that always already fine-tuned with the senior knowledge.
Yes, that's right. Generally, so there are two ways to do it. You have the human expert, the domain expert, which tends to be the founder or the leaders, right? The people who are running business development. Those are your experts. So it's that input is based on them. Then you have the AI, the Gen AI layer, which is the tuning and all that. And then you have either a junior human layer that basically helps to execute, or you have alternate. You can have an AI agent that sends it automatically that is tuned to the Gen AI layer. So there's actually two AI layers.
So double AI.
Yeah, but again, I think most SMEs, they prefer to use a human because there's more control. There are more variables because your business is still relatively small.
And might not have large database.
Might not have enough, yes. Might not have enough. Pros and cons, like generally this humans working with generative AI is something that's applicable to most SMEs, and it will add so much value. Personally, for me, and our business, I don't mean to come across the wrong way, but it's we have more inbound than we can fulfill. So they have to queue. That's a good thing, and that's something I like helping other businesses achieve as well, because I know I can do that for them as well.
So I thought during the early part of the conversation, we mentioned a lot about AI will not going to displace you or human, but actually that could be the human using AI. And if we are not leveraging on the new technology, we are not leveling to the new landscape right now, then we got left behind. Let's talk more about that, because recently, according to KPMG report, Trust in Artificial Intelligence.
Right.
In the report, it says that actually the majority of Singaporeans feel optimistic about AI in general. More than 70% of them feeling excited and optimistic about AI. But at the same time, almost half of the population also express feeling of fearful and worried about AI. So I think one of the biggest concerns that people have is that AI might replace their job in the future or even in the near future, right? So let's talk more about this.
Okay.
Yeah. So what's your take on this?
Well, my take is generally you have to look at the role, right? It's functions. Certain job functions will be eliminated, I would say, or drastically devalued. Your mundane work. We talk about, say, administrative work. Anything that can be done with Gen AI would be given to Gen AI because it doesn't make sense to have a human to do that. Like even coders, there's actually a study which I'm about to publish on my website that actually splits this up into a lot of details for different functions, right? Finance, operations, and so on and so forth. I'll probably share that link in the description. But if you think of it this way, your data entry clerks, you don't need that. Your claims people, you don't need that. Even your coders, if a coder that uses Gen AI versus a coder that doesn't use Gen AI, the coder that uses Gen AI will be at least 20% faster on everything, like all included.
On steroid.
Basically, right? And then that 20% can be used to do stakeholder management, product management. He's going to rise up the ranks. The one who is doing it manually, they're just going to be stuck because they have to do deliverables, right? Because they refuse to embrace Gen AI. So there really isn't a choice. You have to embrace Gen AI. Gen AI is the buzzword because it's something people can feel and look and touch and you can see it. But even things like your traditional, your ML, your deep learning, your categorization work, right? Even that is of value, It's the humans who use Gen AI that will replace you, who know how to leverage it fully. And I would highly recommend, as much as possible, at least get the fundamental understanding of AI. The deeper you can go, the more of an advantage you can get. It's so disruptive because it's not like the mobile revolution. There were only a few people who could benefit from the arbitrage, right, of mobile. You had to be a software founder, you had to build an app. This is different. Gen AI is going to perpetuate all industries, all roles. And if you don't embrace it, you're in trouble. So you have to be a strategic thinker. You need to join the dots. And I think that's where, again, SMEs, startup founders, we have an unfair advantage because unlike MNCs, where everyone is maybe senior and very, very deep in one line, SMEs are broad, but we may not be as deep, right? I mean, your employees, even not just the founders, we're like that. And whereas in MNCs, they're very deep. They're very deep domain knowledge, but only one thing. Because you have Gen AI, you're actually leveling up your depth, but because you have the width, you can join the dots.
So in some way, we are more agile.
We are very much more agile, and this tool is a godsend. AI is a godsend.
So somehow it's like level the playing field for us.
In a way, but don't be complacent.
Okay.
Because they can also use
Yes.
like someone like OCBC, they can commission huge amount of
Data.
players, right? And they have data, yes, and they have huge amount of employees to deploy
A lot of fun,
OCBC,
money.
GPT, all their various tools, and they can deploy them very quickly and with enough resources. You would have to be more, SMEs would have to be very tactical. You
Strategic.
have so much
Yeah.
so much funds and so much time.
So I think right now the common agreement is that adapting and learning Gen AI or AI in general is not a choice, but is a way to go. So it either you level up your skill set, or chances are you get left behind. Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's talk about jobs. Because not everyone will become like coder, software engineer, AI
Right.
engineer, or data scientist. So just now you mentioned people, for example, your admin clerk, right? So what's next for them? As in, like, how can they adapt to
Right.
the new playing field?
Okay, let's maybe take a bit of angle. Say admin clerks or like bookkeepers, right? Their value is no longer just putting in the numbers, because in time, in fact, there are already solutions where it can be auto-plotted, right? And that, but your value is really making sense of the numbers or the data. Say, for example, if you're able to do pro forma statistics or able to make recommendations as a finance professional, if you're accounting based, you're not able to do projections and think strategically on the various moving parts. Your value is diminished compared to someone else who is able to think strategically. If all you can do is bookkeeping, your 3 financial statements, your P&L, your cash flow, your balance sheet, that's all you can do, your value is non-comparable. Someone who is able to think strategically can outperform you because they're using Gen AI. If you get where I'm coming from. So level up, start to go deeper. If this is not the time to be complacent, I went to school, I learned this skill, technical skill, right? Like accounting. This is the time to start becoming more of a data-driven, more of a strategic thinking to be able to piece different things together. And these are all things that Singaporeans can be good at. It's just that, it hasn't been the priority. We were more focused on learning how to do things. Even in your world on coding, you can learn Python. Okay, great, good for you. But GPT can do a lot of, or GPT or any of the GPTs, right? You can use GPT for code assist too, but it's not the best, as you know. So if you can do a lot of the basic coding for me, my job is then to piece the entire complex architecture together, right? And that's my value. Think of how to do it better, not just how to do it. And that's really the future of work. That's where people need to embrace it, become less of a doer and more of a thinker. And I think we do well, and we'll be happier, no? Because we're doing less mundane stuff, like just boring, day in, day out.
I see.
Yeah.
So for any job, you need to be more critical in your job, and more analytical skills, something of a higher value adding
Yes.
responsibilities.
I would say so. And even managers are not spared, right?
Yeah, especially maybe.
Even managers are not spared, because if all you were doing is very administrative level stuff, then that's not valuable. If you don't start to, it's almost like managers have to think like directors, employees have to think like managers. It's you got to level up.
Yes.
If you don't, your competition will eat you.
Yes. So I thought you have in this space for a while, and you have helped a lot of people and also like businesses to level up.
Right.
What courses can you recommend to our audience to level up their AI or Gen AI skills?
Okay, so for basic understanding of generative AI, I've always liked deep learning's content. Deep learning has a program called Generative AI for Anyone. I would likely be putting out very, very short program as well. Yeah, it's completely free. It's called the Fast Track to Mastering AI. So that would take 20 minutes. Get to know the how to prompt, what the tools are, and so on and so forth of how to use generative AI. So that's more these are more like get you in the door, get you some understanding, right? But if you really want to master your capabilities, there are also advanced programs. Oxford, I believe, has a postgraduate diploma in AI for business, but of course they have very stringent criteria to get in. And then UBI has this is a UBI and Middlesex University partnership, so that's like a top 500 university, not bad. They have a MSc in AI and ML management. So management is the key reason why it's such a good program, because there are a lot of AI programs that are catered only to developers. So for those kind of programs, if you go in there and you're not technically inclined, you're probably not going to benefit. You're going to have a really hard time, and you can't really apply it because you're a manager, you're a strategist, right? This is probably one of the programs that I would recommend. Plus, it's a master's. Singapore is a academic-driven country.
Meritocracy.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's a good program. Yeah.
Yes.
I would recommend that one. Yeah.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, so for today's episode, we have covered actually quite a lot of example and case study. We discussed about how to use AI for controlling cost, right, driving revenue, right, and also like we discussed on the impact of AI on jobs and people in general. A parting opinion, right? So let's say like if an audience, right, forget about everything we said so far, what is that one thing that you want the audience to take away from this episode?
If I were to sum up everything in one statement, I would say you can't afford not to level up in your understanding in AI. Maybe specifically Gen AI, because it's everyone's using it and it's very competitive. But definitely you can't afford not to level up in this space.
No more.
Unless you want to fade into obsolescence, right? You really can't afford to not level up. All roles, all functions, whether you're an operations leader, you're a strategist, you're a sales, you need it. You need to at least understand it, because you need to understand how you can use it. If not, your competitors, be it if you're an employee, other candidates who know how to use leverage, they would outpace you for the job that you want. If you're a business owner, your competitors will outperform you because they can deliver more marketing efficiency. They can deliver better sales approaches, more streamlined approaches. Operationally, you're going to be non-competitive compared to your competitors who are using AI, right? So unit economics would be affected if you don't use it. So it's you can't. Basically, you have to use Gen AI.
Yes.
That would be my takeaway.
Yes. Yeah, so thanks a lot, John, for being here. I myself have learned a lot. I didn't know all the use cases, but because of your experience, you actually apply AI to various industry, marketing agencies, education, right? So, I mean, the episode so far is very helpful, and I hope it will be helpful to all of our audience as well. Thanks a lot, John.
My pleasure.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks a lot, John. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Cheers.
Thank you everyone for watching the episode. If you find this content useful, please like and subscribe to our channels. And I look forward to seeing you again in the next episode.